Hello, I'm Clive Paget and I'm Limelight's editor-at-large. I'm here to speak with Igor Levit, who has been voted International Artist of the Year by our panel of critics. A thoughtful and exceptionally talented pianist, Igor has a string of acclaimed albums under his belt, but he's also a social activist whose interests go way beyond the music he plays. Igor, congratulations on winning our Critics' Choice for International Artist of the Year.
Thanks a lot. It's a great honor. And
am I right in thinking you've never been to Australia?
Say again?
Am I right in thinking you've never been to Australia?
No.
So are you surprised?
I have only been here, but I have never really been there, which is definitely right up there on my list.
And are you therefore surprised that you're so popular there?
Yes. You bet I am.
I mean, apart from your brilliant series of recordings, the latest of which I think it's not published yet, but I think I can say that it's got another 5-star review for you. Audiences in Australia may well know you for your online presence, particularly during the pandemic. I mean, was that something you did to stay connected with audiences, or was it as much about maintaining your own sanity?
It was both. I mean, at the top of the list was really the connection to the people, because to put it simply, I definitely would have not continued playing the piano during that time without knowing that there are people who I actually play for. This is an integral part of who I am, and why I make music is togetherness. Like it's just boxing into the air. At some point you just get really tired. You have no counterpunch. You have nothing, and you have no counterplay. And this is what I essentially need when I make music. Is the feeling of I do it for someone. Now, of course, it goes without saying that there's nothing more beautiful than actually seeing people in real and experiencing this in real. But during the pandemic, this wasn't possible. So you know what? I felt like, let's just give it a try and see what it does. So I started streaming, and just knowing that there are people on the other side really lifted me up in such an incredible way. So at the top of the list was the connection. My sanity would have been okay without it, but it was definitely much better with it.
And what was it like returning to live performance?
It was special and beautiful and tender, and we all needed a little while. You could tell that the people, it was really. Halls were kind of empty-ish, so it was not like it was packed. But there was a beautiful tenderness in all of it, in this whole experience, and it was really special. But it wasn't just great, because part of the story, which rarely is told, but I think it's very important, is that what was the physical and mental condition in which we all were, both the audiences and the musicians and everyone who makes a concert possible. So people backstage, assistants, managers, managements, promoters, etc. And the physical and mental state of mind was absolute exhaustion. We were all exhausted. It was not like we came back after 3 months of vacation. It was 3 months of, being at the limit of physics and your mental state. And so it was both. It was beautiful and difficult and overwhelming and unforgettable.
What did you play and where?
It was in Hamburg at the Elbphilharmonie. I played Beethoven's Waldstein Sonata. I played a couple Beethoven sonatas. I was supposed to finish my cycle, my sonata cycle, which I couldn't do for almost 2 years. And so this was like a first step to it.
Your probably best known, or certainly best known in Australia, for these kind of big projects on disc, like the variations by Bach, coupled with variations by Beethoven and by Rejewski, for example. I mean, is the scale of these and the challenge of these projects, is that something that's important to you, or is it just that the ideas you have demand a big canvas?
It's kind of both. I like playing music which takes a certain amount of time, because it gives me time to express. It gives the audiences time to actually dive in. And also when I tackle a cycle, when I discover a cycle which was written as a cycle and meant to be a cycle, I try to play it in fully. Of course, you could play just a selection of, let's say, the Shostakovich Preludes and Fugues, which I just recorded, but then I'm like, why? Then it's not half as satisfying as actually experiencing the whole thing. And yes, it takes a long time to learn it, but then it's worth every penny of it. I mean, every inch of it, And so, yeah, I tend to these longer, rather, big cycles, and I tend to do that not only, but I have a certain interest in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your latest disc, as you just mentioned, couples the Shostakovich 24 Preludes and Fugues, which in itself, I think I've got the Tatiana Nikolaeva, and it takes up 6 discs. But you chose to couple it with Roland Stevenson's quite rarely performed Passacaglia on DSCH. I mean, you could have just done the Shostakovich Preludes and Fugues. Why did you feel you needed to add the Stevenson?
Because I thought that, I think that the Passacaglia is a once in a century experience, and one of the very greatest pieces of music ever been written for the piano solo. And the context with this magnificent cycle by Dmitri Shostakovich, I thought, and I still think, provides the Passacaglia the biggest and greatest possible platform to actually being elevated and to make people listen to it. So there is both. There is a, most importantly, an almost limitless love for this piece, and for both of them. Mm-hmm. And there was also some tactics involved, where I thought, how can I provide the best possible stage and platform for the Passacaglia? Because you're right, it is not only, I mean, you just said it is rarely performed. It is almost never performed. Mm-hmm. And by a few people have done it in the most wonderful way, but it's not part of it. I mean, compared to the Passacaglia, Frederick Rzewski's People United is a sort of core repertoire piano piece. And there is no other reason for this ignorance than ignorance. Mm-hmm. And there not only is there a really unacceptable ignorance in all kinds of the world and all kinds of aspects of our life, but also in the classical music industry. And so and there's there's a gazillion, there's an endless amount of let's say, in my world, of piano literature, which is there. It's ready to be picked up. It's ready to be played. It's exciting. It really brings people together. It really is something so many are longing for, and it is pure and only intellectual, mostly intellectual laziness of many, not all, but many, which which causes the fact that this music isn't being heard.
So with the Stevenson, I mean, it's a very, very densely argued and difficult piece to play. I mean, how long would it take you to get a piece like that?
It's always the Hammerklavier Sonata, and many people play. I mean, the Hammerklavier Sonata is probably the single hardest piece of piano music I ever played. People play the Hammerklavier Sonata. This is not the reason. People play Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto. People play the Liszt Sonata, the Transcendental Etudes, you name it. I mean, these are all tremendously difficult pieces It's not like they aren't played. They are played all over the world. It's not that the Stevenson is sort of theoretically much harder than the pieces I just mentioned. It's just, again, it's just laziness. And it took me, it took me a long time. I discovered this piece when I was about 18 years old, and I couldn't pull it off. I just couldn't. And so, but I was living with it for, over 10 years. And then at a decided to play it and to record it. It maybe took me a couple months, but really this it was boiling in me for 12 years.
Mm-hmm. I noticed on your website, I mean, you're obviously an incredibly thoughtful artist, but on your website, you label yourself citizen European pianist. Is that order of those three words of particular relevance to you, and how do the first two, citizen and European, how do they inform the artist, the pianist?
Oh, it's totally it's very much on purpose, because first and foremost, first of all, the ground on which I stand as a human being is me being a citizen of my country. Not only of my country, but let's stick to my country where I live in, which is Germany. I am a citizen of this country, which goes with certain responsibilities. The idea to detach yourself from the reality you live in just because you are a musician who makes, I find it to be just a bad joke. I don't get it. I don't get the whole idea about it. The fact that I am allowed to play the piano without fear that someone will, throw a bomb on my house, or that I won't have enough food, or my family will starve, or etc. etc. The list is long. There are roads and bridges I can drive on. There are, you can name anything. The fact that this exists is because the society I live in gave me the chance to have all of it. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. And this would not exist if we all would just detach ourselves just because we create beauty. What was that supposed to be? So the ground I stand on is being a citizen. So, and this goes with certain responsibilities. And yes, I'm European. This goes without saying. A very critical one, a very often infuriated by what my country and the continent I live on does. And based on that, I'm a pianist, I'm a musician. So the order is pretty very much on purpose.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, there's a great deal going on in your life, both in terms of recordings and performance. And do you have to be incredibly disciplined to fit it all in? I mean, is it easy to kind of get the balance right?
No, but I've got no time for easy things. It's not easy, but it is who I am, and yes, I have to be very disciplined. I am very disciplined in my work. I am very not disciplined outside of my work. But this is who I am, and this is what I decided to do. And as long as it feels right, I stick to my decision.
And do you have a practice regime that you stick to?
No. The only regime I have is I exercise every day in terms of sports, etc. Because this gives me a great deal of mental clarity. Mm-hmm. And the days I don't do it, I feel worse. So this is like the only regime I actually go through. Other than that, I sit at the piano as much as I need every day. But the variety in terms of the duration is very broad.
Mm-hmm. Is that running or gym work, or what do you?
Oh, hell no! I hate running. I find running. I mean, this bores me to the core. I just can't. No, I go to the gym and I row very, 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 very often, and so but it's more kind of, going to the gym and just having some time just for myself.
And what are you working on right now?
In terms of gym or
no, abs, pecs? In terms of music. I'm
preparing the Liszt Sonata, which I haven't played in 10 years. I'm bringing that one back. William Balcom wrote a new piano concerto for me, which I'm terribly excited about. I have to learn that one.
Where are you playing that?
In Heidelberg at the Heidelberg Spring Festival with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and then we'll tour it a couple places. And other than that, I'm actually thinking about new projects. I'm not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm. Are these recording projects in your head?
Yeah, but it's really again, I'm in this boiling process, so it's gonna take a while.
Did I read somewhere that you were working on Sarabji?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's kind of it's too tempting to not give it a try. Let's say.
And have you ever played any of it? I mean, I've never looked at a score, but I mean, I know some recordings seem to be virtually you have to. I have
played some of his. I have worked on some of his pastiches. So this is what he called basically transcriptions of Carmen and other things. I looked at them, I worked on them, but I've never played a large scale piece by Sarabji. Meaning I've never sat like for 5 hours and played an insane piece. But again, it's too tasty and too tempting and too there's something about it and about the sound he created and the way he wrote music and the way it does something to my body, really, literally to my body, that to not give it a try, and I don't know if I can pull it off, but to not give it a try would be a shame. I think he was a remarkable composer.
And are you touring internationally now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I'm allowed to. Again, I do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that, are there any restrictions on? I mean, is it back to business as normal, or are you? Are there places?
Well, there's no such thing as business as normal, but other than being vaccinated, and which I mean, I really must say, a dear friend of mine who is one of the leading German politicians in terms of health, public health, and who is himself a virologist and hopefully will become the next Secretary of Health. He, at the day when BioNTech and Pfizer announced that they had a vaccine, he tweeted and said, "This is the triumph of medicine." And boy, was he right. Mm-hmm. And boy, am I grateful to these people for what they've done. We wouldn't, I mean, period, just in general. I don't want to talk as a musician who depends on touring, but just as a mensch sitting here, boy, am I grateful to them. And so, and sort of my understanding towards people who just don't get vaccinated and instead go, find themselves in hospitals and just being drugged with an enormous amount of medicine. I don't get it. Anyway, so other than being vaccinated and wearing a mask, which is essential, things are working, but it's not that the music industry is in a great shape. It's difficult to sell tickets. We are not where we were before. And so it will require time, political help, and solidarity between promoters, audiences, and musicians to overcome this time. And it's going to take a while. I'm sure it's going to take us at least another year, at least, to get back on sort of a healthy road.
Well, hopefully somewhere down the line that will allow you to make your
come to Australia.
Australian debut.
I cannot wait.
Igor Levit, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Stay healthy and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All the best. Bye-bye.